It was now 2 days before the feast of the Passover and the unleavened bread. And the chief priests and the scribes and the elders were seeking a way that they could arrest Jesus by deception and kill him. Now when Jesus was in Bethany at the house of Simon the leper, sitting at the table, a woman came, carrying an alabaster jar of pure nard, very costly. And she broke the jar and she poured the oil on Jesus' head. But there were some there who grew indignant among themselves, saying, Why has this jar of ointment been wasted? For it could have been sold for 300 denarii and given to the poor. But Jesus said to them, Leave her alone. Why do you grumble against her? For she has done a good work for me. You will always have the poor with you. And whenever you want to, you can go and you can do for them a good work, but you will not always have me. And this woman has done all that she could. She has anointed my body beforehand for the burying. Most certainly I tell you that wherever this good news is preached, what this woman has done here today will be spoken of for a memorial of her. And Judas Iscariot, who was one of the 12, went away to the chief priests that he might deliver Jesus to them. And they, when they heard this, were delighted, and they offered to pay him money. And Judas left there and began to think of a way that he might deliver Jesus to them conveniently. On the first day of unleavened bread, when they sacrificed the Passover, his disciples said to him, Where do you want us to go and prepare that you may eat the Passover? And Jesus said to them, sending 2 of his disciples, said, Go into the city, and there you will meet a man carrying a pitcher of water. Follow him. And wherever he enters in, go and ask the head of that household where his guest room is, that the Savior may eat with his disciples. And so the disciples went into the city and found everything just as Jesus had said, and they prepared the Passover there. And at evening, Jesus came with the 12. And as they were sitting and eating, Jesus said to them, Most certainly I tell you that one of you here will betray me, he who eats with me tonight. Well, at this they began to be sorrowful. And they said to him one after the other, Surely not I, and another, Surely not I. And Jesus said to them, It is one of the 12, he who dines with me in this dish. For the Son of Man goes as it is written, but woe to him by whom the Son of Man is betrayed. It would be better for him if he had never been born. And as they were eating, Jesus took the bread, and after he blessed it, he broke it, and he gave to them, saying, Take, eat, this is my body. And he took the cup, and after giving thanks, he gave it to them, and they all drank from it. And he said to them, This is the blood of my new covenant, which is poured out for many. I tell you the truth, I will not again drink of the fruit of the vine until the day I drink it anew in God's kingdom. And after they had sung a hymn, they went up on the Mount of Olives. And Jesus said to them, All of you will be made to stumble because of me tonight. For it is written, I will strike the shepherd, and the sheep will be scattered. However, after I am raised up from the dead, I will go before you into Galilee. But Peter said to him, Even if all fall away, I will not. And Jesus said to him, Most certainly I tell you, that this day, tonight, before the rooster crows 2 times, you will have denied me 3 times. But Peter protested all the more, saying, Even if I must die with you, I will not deny you. And they all agreed, saying the same thing. And they came to a place called Gethsemane. And Jesus said to his disciples, "Stay here while I go and pray." And he took with him Peter, James, and John. And he began to be greatly troubled and distressed. And he said to them, "My soul is sorrowful to the point of death. Stay here and wait and watch." And he went forward just a little. And he fell to the ground and he began to pray that this hour might pass away from him if it was possible. He said, "Abba, Father, all things are possible for you. Take this cup from me. But not what I desire, but what you desire." And he came back, and he found the disciples sleeping. And he said to Peter, "Simon, are you sleeping? Couldn't you watch 1 hour? And now watch and pray that you do not fall into temptation. Oh, because the spirit is so willing, but the flesh is weak." And again, he went to pray, saying the same words. And again he returned, and he found them sleeping, for their eyes were so heavy. And they didn't even know how to answer him. And he came to them a third time. And he said, "Oh, are you sleeping? Arise now, for the hour has come. The one who betrays me is at hand." And immediately as the words left his mouth, Judas Iscariot, one of the 12, came with a mob carrying clubs and swords, they of the chief priests, the elders, and the scribes. Now Judas had given them a sign, saying, "The one whom I kiss, that is him. Seize him and lead him away safely." And so immediately as he arrived, Judas came to Jesus, saying, "Rabbi, Rabbi." And then he kissed him. And immediately they put their hands on him and they seized him. And one who was there took his sword and struck one of the servants of the high priest, cutting off his ear. And then Jesus said, "Have you come against us as robbers with swords and clubs? I was with you in the temple every day teaching, and you didn't arrest me. But all this has been done so that the scripture might be fulfilled." And all of his disciples abandoned him and fled. They led Jesus away to the high priest, the chief scribes, and the elders. They all came along. And Peter had followed behind from a distance until they came to the court of the high priest. And he stayed back in the courtyard, warming himself with the officers by the fire. And the chief priests and all the councils sought witnesses against Jesus that they might put him to death. And many came and gave false testimony, but their testimonies did not agree with one another. Some stood up and said, "I heard him say that he's going to tear down this temple built with hands and in 3 days build another temple built without hands." And even so, their testimony did not agree. And so the high priest stood up in the middle, and he said to Jesus, "Have you no answer? What is it that these are testifying against you?" But Jesus remained silent. He said nothing. So again the high priest asked him, "Are you the Christ, the Son of the Blessed?" And Jesus answered him, saying, "I am. You will see the Son of Man sitting at the right hand of power and coming with the clouds of the sky." Well, at this, the chief priest became enraged, and he tore his clothes, and he said, "What need have we of further witnesses? You heard this blasphemy. What do you all say?" And they all agreed and condemned that he would be worthy of death. And they began to hit him with their fists, and to spit on him, and to cover his face, and to say, "Prophesy." And all the officers hit him with the palms of their hands. And Peter was in the courtyard, warming himself by the fire. And one of the maids of the chief priests came, and she said to him, You were with him, the Nazarene, Jesus." But Peter said to her, I don't know or understand what you were talking about." And he went out onto the porch, and the rooster crowed. And then the maid saw him again, and she said to some of those who were standing around, "He was one of them. He was one of them." And Peter again denied it. And it was just a short while later that he was standing, and those standing around him said, "No, you are surely one of them, for you're a Galilean. Your speech gives you away." But Peter said to them, he became angry, and he began to curse and to swear, and he said, "I do not know the man of whom you speak." And the rooster crowed a second time. And Peter remembered the word. And now Jesus had said to him, "Before the rooster crows 2 times, you will have denied me 3 times. And when he thought about that, he wept. The book of Mark, chapter 14.